So hello and welcome to another edition of the Governance Webcast series. Today I'm interviewing Pamela McCreedy from the Northern Ireland Audit Office. I'm Níall Fitzgerald, the Head of Ethics and Governance in Chartered Accountants Ireland, and I'm delighted to have with me Pamela McCreedy, as I said, is Chief Operating Officer of the Northern Ireland Audit Office. Pamela is a Chartered Accountant, and in addition to actually being the CEO of the Northern Ireland Audit Office, she's also a member of Council of Chartered Accountants Ireland, our oversight board. Pamela will be responsible for leading and managing the Northern Ireland Audit Office's operational and business and supporting the Controller and Auditor General in the North. She joined the Northern Ireland Audit Office in 2017 from the Northern Health and Social Care Trust, where she was Deputy Chief Executive and Director of Operations. So I'm going to go straight to Pamela and say, hello Pamela, thank you for joining us.
Very good to be here, Níall.
And Pamela, I'm going to launch straight in, if I may, and ask you, what is your experience and observation so far to the response to the crisis in the public sector, if I may ask, and its provision of services to people and businesses in Northern Ireland?
Well, Níall, as you'd be aware, the audit office that I work for covers all of the public sector in Northern Ireland, so both from central government and local government. I'm the local government auditor, and health service as well. And I think my observation has been really the speed of response being the most notable thing. Decisions that previously could have taken months are now being taken in days or indeed hours. And I think on reflecting, the benefits of having our Northern Ireland Assembly back and running at the beginning of the year has certainly supported taking forward actions that have been vital as part of the COVID experience. I think the relationships between central and local government have been crucially important, and undoubtedly that's vitally important going forward that those continue. You mentioned me working in the health service for a large part of my career, over 10 years, and I think how it has responded and reconfigured is remarkable. And we're all so proud of what our health and social care colleagues are doing for us all. I think as I observe the vast range of support packages that government are delivering at the moment is indicative of the scale and impact across our community. You know, those large packages are around job retention and business interruption loan schemes. There's emergency childcare provision and provision to support retail, hospitality and tourism sector, and indeed hardship grants into the sports sector. And I think that's indicative of it's in our lifetime, we've never had to endure such challenging times across public sector and public service.
It sounds to me, Pamela, like there's certainly the strengths and the strength of community and the relation that the government supporting the various different bodies. It's very strong, and you know, the crisis, as challenging it is, it sounds like everybody has come together up in Northern Ireland in dealing with it.
I think across everywhere. I think Northern Ireland's probably not exclusive to that, but I certainly think it has brought people together. We talk about a programme for government and joined up working, but this is where it has been essential, both across government departments and not just sitting in isolation. You know, MOT centres are now test centres for COVID-19, and that has required government to work across. And certainly from a local government perspective, which when I speak to my colleagues there, you know, very direct income and loss of income in the closing of public services has an impact on them, and that engagement in with central government is obviously vitally important.
Thanks, Pamela. Pamela, Chartered Accountants Ireland, we've been very engaged discussing the current crisis with various CEOs, board members, their key advisors, and here we are with yourself at the moment. And we've been asking them for some of their insights and advice that they would give to organisations in these challenging times. What advice would you have to boards or committees of, say, state or arm's length bodies or government-funded organisations, particularly on decision-making in a crisis, and those aspects from when you're dealing with public monies, the reprioritisation of financial goals, what are the appropriate KPIs to be monitoring in a crisis, because government, I'd imagine, are not a bottomless pit.
No, they're certainly not. I think overall, Níall, you've touched on it, you know, the roles of boards are still crucially important. In speaking to a number of board members as we do, they are conscious of, in many ways, not getting in the way. but at the same time being there and having the crucial and important role of challenge and support. In the midst of all of this, we do need to bear in mind good governance is essential, particularly in around the public sector. You talked about the level of expenditure, emergency expenditure that is currently being processed. And I think it's important that we're clear that there's still proper use of public money, and indeed in line with our ethical standards as we consider what that money is being expended on. That we're clear that we still understand the approvals and authorisations and delegated limits and document that. Certainly our engagement with the central government bodies, we are conscious that, back to my comment on months and now it's days and hours, the level of information may not be to the same level they're used to, but they do need to consider that and document it and track it and assess what those risks are. In the end of the day, this is still public money, and the importance of good stewardship is vitally important, even at this time. I think making those decisions with the best available information that's there now, it may not be what we would be used to, and we have to consider the sustainability of the organisations that we're considering this for, and hence where a number of the support packages have been invested into. I have been impressed with the visibility and responsiveness of the ministers, and I think again our fortunate timing that we had an assembly back at the start of the year. They are clearly reprioritising some of those goals that you make reference to. Our programme for government looks very different now than what it did a number of months ago. And I think it's important that they continue to focus on that cross-government working and getting those solutions for all parts of our community and working that together. You mentioned financial goals. I do indeed think that most organisations have reassessed those financial goals and scaled those down to ensure the viability of their organisations. And some organisations may need to totally rethink what their remit is, and an example of that has been O'Neill Sportswear, now making scrubs for the health service. So I do think the importance of boards are still important. Those challenging questions around the ethical culture that still operates within those boards, and that there is still good effective control, whilst recognising we are working in a time that more speedy decisions are important, and we have to get on and invest and support both our public services and indeed our business communities.
Something very pleasing about the altruistic nature, the natural altruistic nature of businesses, how they have turned their production lines to actually help out with the crisis.
Absolutely.
It's been very reassuring. Thanks for that, Pamela. Can I ask, just from your own perspective, what are your expectations for businesses post-pandemic? I suppose, number one, from your role in Chartered Accountants Ireland, what would your expectations be for the accounting profession? And number two, what would your expectations be for the business economy in Northern Ireland? Do you expect to see any dramatic changes after this, when we all get back to work after this pandemic?
I think the accounting profession will be needed more than ever. Maybe as a chartered accountant, I would say that. I think survival of our businesses is crucial, and our business recovery process is going to be vital. And I think accountants and the accounting profession is going to be instrumental in that. The recovery and renewal, and I've been reflecting, is a renewal the right word, but of our public service. I'm not sure all of them will look the same as we go forward. I think the profession will have a large input and support into that, but I think we have an opportunity to reflect on that joint upworking, how our services look and how we support our community. So I think as a profession, we're strong. We're strong in the advisory role. I suppose in my own work in the audit office, we've been mindful from a time as we've come through Kingman and Bryden and almost real-time auditing. Now is not the time for it, and we're very mindful of that as well. But as we get into the transition to try and get back to the delivery of our public service, I think the accounting profession is going to be crucial in that. You asked about Northern Ireland and the economy. In many ways, we were just coming out of recession. We were just starting to see the shoots of that. We were mindful that we would get a bounce or an impact on the back of Brexit. And here we are now in a pandemic and considering what our economy will look like the other side of that. We have some strong sectors. I mean, our agri-food sector, you can see has been very strong throughout all of this. But I think undoubtedly the like of our construction, our hospitality, our tourism sector is going to be extremely challenged, and the importance of government focusing on those areas and supporting those sectors is going to be crucial.
Pamela McCreedy, Chief Operating Officer of the Northern Ireland Audit Office, thank you for joining us and sharing your insights today.
Thank you very much, Neil. Good to chat.